We should be good. All right. Welcome to episode. This is going to be misnumbered because I didn't change it. Probably episode 8, 7 of Mountain Outpost Pod.
I think it's
Welcome
8.
back. I'm your co-host, Jam, Jamil Curry, and I'm here with Skizzlefresh, Skylar Hall. How you doing tonight? What are you eating there? Eating dinner?
I miss my boy Mako. And so, yes, this is dinner. It's also, I guess, probably lunch because really all I ate for lunch was rice cakes today. So I have the Kodiak Cakes muffin, chocolate chip flavored. So, we touched upon it last week that I'm starting to do this like macro tracking thing, and I never get close enough on proteins by any stretch of the imagination. So, I finally caved and bought some of these. So this is my first foray into them. And first couple bites are pretty solid. So he was onto something.
What is that again? A muffin?
It's a muffin power cup. Basically, it was like here's powder, and then I added some almond milk, and now I just have something. It looks a lot like oatmeal, but it's much more fluffy and enjoyable, and it has chocolate chips, so it meets my sweet tooth base instincts. So it's all good. It's all good.
Great.
Yeah, but otherwise things are solid, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I see Jesse Ellis is in the chat room, so I was just making sure that we're good to go on that end. We've got some viewers, I think it sounds like. Yeah, we got a few people. I'm good. I decided to turn Mondays into my long run day. So yesterday I went out for a bit of a run, and that felt good. It was nice to have 16 miles done after Monday, and I just got a lot of meetings today, a lot of things happening around here, and got a quick hour in on the Salt River bike path right by the office here. So I tagged you on Instagram. Hopefully you saw that.
I did see that.
Great. And we got Alan Stark. He says it's loud and clear. I don't know if that means I'm too loud.
That's not. You're probably
loud
fine.
And clear is good. Yeah, no, our levels are looking great. So yeah, no, I'm good. And last week, of course, I had the Athletic Brewing I was shouting out, and this week, this is a gift. Someone from Berkeley Run Co. was at Coldwater Rumble. It's a trail race we had this weekend out at Estrella Mountain Regional Park, and they handed me a case of spiked snowmelt. This is a hard seltzer from Upslope Brewing in collaboration with Scratch Labs. So I think both companies out of Boulder, Colorado, which is up their way. And this is the grapefruit and hops. It's like electrolytes plus, hard seltzer. So I'm going to be getting after that tonight.
Nice. I respect it. That actually reminds me, when I went and ran Magnolia Road back in December, I'm pretty sure I saw a Scratch Labs like camper van in somebody's random driveway. So hopefully they'll be taking that around and bringing some of that brew here in 2021 to some races. For me, I have the Laughing Monk Sister Lucy IPA, hazy IPA, excuse me. And Laughing Monk is just a stalwart Bay Area brewery. So you can never go wrong with them. And I'm utilizing my cheat day, my extra drink day, to make this podcast happen. So cheers, sir.
Loving it. Cheers, buddy. Yes. If you guys are joining us for the first time, this is the Mountain Outpost Pod, and we are talking about whatever we want to talk about in terms of running, typically running, that's happened in the past week, what's going on in the sport, ruminations, rumors, trying to start some controversies, maybe, trying to keep things fun, entertaining. What else do we do here? Keeping it loose.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of us just like talking smack to each other and potentially talking smack to other people. So if this is your podcast where you're looking for news or hard-hitting interviews, this ain't it. We'll cover some of those things, but for the most part, we're just two buddies catching up and causing problems.
Absolutely. And we're probably going to throw some guests into the mix starting soon. We did a call out last week during the show and then even post show. And we were talking about potentially starting with other running YouTubers, since we are in that category. Like we happen to be.
I think that's fair. Yeah. We were crushing the game early on with stupid challenges and running between different components. So, Nick Simmons, you're welcome. No, I'm just kidding.
Yep.
But yeah, I guess that's how this channel came to be. And so if somebody was later to finding us via Outhouse News or some miscellaneous avenue, yeah, that's how it all began. We were young and dumb, and now we're older and still dumb, and here we go.
That's it. I might have to take a call here in a second if it comes back.
This should be fun. Cool.
Yeah, this will be a good one. Let's see what happens.
Great content.
Yeah.
Put it on speaker.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. We got a couple people in the chat, and that is the thing. If you guys want to drop us a comment in the chat room here, questions for us, comments on what we're talking about. If you want to start some beef with one of us, feel free to drop it in there. Conrado Soria, cheers, Jam and Skizzle, you just said Skizzle. Currently drinking a Drake's Brewing Head Zo Strong Ale out of the San Leandro Bay Area.
That is correct. Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's what? Probably a 15-minute drive from me to get to the main Drake spot. And they have the dealership. So if you're ever in Oakland, you need a good pizza along with your beer, I will make that recommendation. So shout out Drake's, respect.
And Mitchell McLaughlin, I miss the stupid challenges. We need more.
Well, I miss you, Mitchell. How about that? I just miss you. So
that's right.
Come to us, hang out at Western States again. Or and also if he's in, I don't know if you're back down in Santa Barbara or up in Chico, but like let somebody know. Maybe we can catch up soon. I'm just gonna throw it out there.
There you go.
Help me help you.
And then Charlie Seymour, who I just met out at Coldwater this weekend. What is the use of 3 UTMB points? This is one of like the questions that we ponder, in the universe. What is the use of just 3 points? Because you need 10 points in 2 races for UTMB. Well, I would say that maybe the more accurate term now is ITRA points, like International Trail Running Association points. And if you're not running the full UTMB, I believe you can use them for shorter distance races. And there are a couple other races that do use the UTMB qualifying system, which is the ITRA system. So there's potentially other races that you can use just 3 points to qualify for. It depends on the race. So that's kind of the put on my other hat, ITRA hat, something like that. Good question. Anyways, yeah.
What is real personal? I was like, no, this is very self-serving. Let me ask this and then dip out. So that's what we're here for. Yeah. So if it's your first time tuning in, welcome. Thank you. Otherwise, that we have some run steep situational things that we're going to cover. We got some run flat situational things we're going to cover. So how about I just like run through a bunch of run flat news real quick, and then we get into the heart of things that people either submitted on Instagram in previous comments or what they put in the chat. Sound like a plan?
Love it.
Easy enough. All right, let's rapid fire this. So first and foremost, we got to shout out Alafine Toliamuk of Hoka NAZ Elite had her child. So you may remember her from winning the U.S. Olympic trials last year. And then she got pregnant, and now she's had a healthy child. So congratulations to her and the entire family. And I mean that in the broadest NAZ Elite scene. And so now we're going to see how well she bounces back before Tokyo in 7 short months. So excited for her.
Pandemic scenario and
listen, worst things. Right? Exactly. I mean, we're starting to see this wave of sort of like this pandemic baby boom. So, she rode the wave. I can't fault her for that. Listen, you take advantage of the opportunities when you have them. So that's cool. So yeah, you can check out the photos on her Instagram. And yeah, it sounds like the family's all doing well. So congratulations to them. Other things, we got sponsor switch ups keep happening. As expected, Aisha Pratt-Lear of the Boss Hard team is officially with Puma now. They're training down there in the Phoenix area. So Jamil, go get an interview. You'll be good.
There's a whole pack of runners down in Phoenix right now. It seems like
there's a grip of people.
Yeah.
Basically, everybody who lives at altitude full time has gone down to Phoenix for like warm weather training camp. So yeah, Boss Hard's down there, Tin Man's down there. Seen some of the New Balance folks that are kicking around, and I'm sure there's folks who've made the transition, like the Flagstaff, and are still coming down to the valley for some warm weather, more sea level esque elements. So if you happen to also find yourself in the Phoenix area, keep an eye open when you're running the canal
paths. Yep.
Yeah, you'll probably find somebody famous. So we got that. Other sponsor switch ups is, speaking of the Olympic trials, Molly Seidel. She left Saucony. Turns out it looks like she's going to announce and debut in her new sponsor singlet this Saturday. She's doing a half marathon out in the Vegas area. And so I think this is actually the first time she's towing the line since Michigan. So she did like some shorter stuff. She went and set like the turkey trot world record. But this will be the first time under the new sponsor. So look out for that this weekend. That'll be a big news item. I'm sure it's most likely Puma. Who are we kidding? But there you go. And then I think the last thing that we have to talk about is, in terms of women doing crazy things, a thing Mo, I believe Texas A&M freshman, runs a 2:01:07 800. She finished 5th at the U.S. U.S. Championships in 2019. And everybody was like, oh, yeah, like she's going to be elite. And then we just completely spaced on the fact that she then enters college and is just smashing on everyone. So in her debut race, runs a 2:01, which is like under the Olympic standard already. I should also mention that there's a high schooler this weekend, Whitaker, who ran 2:02 and change. So that's great that I'm getting completely demolished by high school girls now, but that's what's happening in the mid distance. It's going to be very competitive come the Olympic trials. So get excited if you're in the run flat or just like track fan world. The women are about to tear it up for the U.S. this summer. That's pretty much it in terms of run flat stuff. There was a boatload of indoor track meets. Like, it almost looked like a normal non-pandemic weekend in terms of the sheer number of college track meets that occurred. So I guess if you're somebody who wants to return to normal, you got that going for you. But yeah, man, it was a wild weekend.
We have a comment here. Just ran into a runner. It's from Highland Running Club. Just ran into a runner that signed for Diadora. Do they make a running shoe? Is the question. Do you know anything about this?
No, not that I'm aware of. Like, when I think Diadora, it's either like fashion or soccer. So, but it's possible. I mean, listen, if Puma is all of a sudden getting into this distance game, I'm not going to be surprised if any other shoe company just like slides in a miscellaneous runner, and especially in a weird quasi-Olympic year and all of that. Yeah, contracts are insane.
Well, I just saw David Laney signed with Kraft.
Yeah, that was interesting.
And I think there's going to be more. I think the Kraft team is more than just Laney. So I think there's going to be some other ones that will be announced. I haven't seen any others that are public yet. So, but I know of at least one other one that is going for Kraft. And then someone else says Molly went for a 10-mile record the same day Kira D'Amato did.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, she did. I think by her own admission, she was like, I was good for like 2 miles. And then I was just like, I'm just here and happy to be a part of this event. Yeah, she's definitely had a good fall, winter of training and shorter races. I think this will be the first time that she shows out and actually tries to take a good W and is in a, I guess, I want to say like legitimate competitive field, but like an actual race that looks like a normal race we would have and not just a time trial scenario. So it'll be interesting to see what she pulls off, because, you know, we're still 7 months away from the Olympic marathon. So this could be a good confidence booster and just like rust bust before a nice, healthy build up to Tokyo, or Sapporo, I guess, really, for the marathon.
Mitchell chimes in. Hold up, Kraft, the mac and cheese company, signed Laney?
I wish. That would be solid.
Yeah.
No, it's sportswear apparel, and it's Rivers was like the namesake, right? Like that.
He was like their main athlete. So it's like Team Rivs is growing.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I think we all knew it was quite a squad to begin with, especially after the events of this past year. But good to see that Kraft is also sort of like getting in on the action,
supporting trail runners, supporting athletes, getting behind them. So it's good to see.
Keeping his legacy real solid. So Shut up. I respect it.
Yeah. Another Run Flat Stay Low event happening this weekend here in Phoenix is Hoka's Carbon X2. I saw there's been a couple withdrawals. There's supposed to be quite the field assembled. I know Elov is here. I know Camille has been in town getting some runs in. I know she's been out on the course. I saw she got a haircut or something today. So, okay. And you got to get a new style, who knows? And then, that's kicking off on Saturday. It's a rainy week in Phoenix, actually. We haven't had one of those in, it seems like 8 months or something ridiculous. Cloudy today. It was raining this morning before I got out of bed. I've just heard it pouring outside. And I think they have rain in the forecast for the whole next week. So we'll see how it plays out for race day. I don't know if it's going to be a windy day or if it's going to dump a half inch, or maybe it'll just be overcast and perfect. So we just don't know.
We're going to find out very quickly how solid the traction is in those shoes. I think that's going to be, it's going to be very important. Wet painted lines do not end well. Anyone who's ever been in a normal road race marathon scenario and gone through a water station can probably attest to that. Those things get slick really quick. So if there's any condensation out there, it could spell trouble if somebody's not paying enough attention, especially with some of the curves that are likely on that course. So
yep, it'll be interesting. I haven't been out on the course to run it yet, but myself, I don't know if I mentioned this on the show. I'm going to be out there. 5 of our staff is going to be out there. We're providing support for their team. So a couple of us are going to be in the lead vehicles. A few of us are going to be on bikes before and after the runners, kind of making sure they make their way, rabbiting around the course, basically. I guess hopefully I'll be posting at least a couple clips on my Instagram story, if nothing else. We'll see if we get a full vlog out of it or something. That'd be kind of cool. Comment here in the chat. Hayden Hawks is absolutely primed and ready to become a world record holder, in my opinion, says me S. What do you think about that? Hayden Hawks, is that your boy?
Hey, listen, it's difficult to predict how anybody is responding under pandemic circumstances. We've got the best idea of where his fitness is after JFK. You throw in Walmsley, we don't know where his fitness is at. Obviously, Patrick is out now. Elog has done a bunch of stuff, but it's been in Europe. So it's kind of hard to know exactly how that'll translate to this sort of climate that's in Phoenix. So I think he might be able to put down a very respectable and potentially world record worthy effort. Whether he's the first person to do that on Saturday will be a different question. So it'll be very interesting to watch. This might be one of those situations where instead of some of the time trial stuff we've seen during the summer where it was all one team and we kind of knew how it would shake out, or they were all rabbiting for one specific person to get to, the 1 hour goal or whatever it might be. This is a situation where, yes, they are all sponsored by the same team, but they might legit be taking shots and trying to break each other as we get close to the end. They're not going to be holding hands across the line at 100K. So this could competitive instincts could still take over, and we'll see what's what. Because I'm sure there's a contract bonus in there for somebody who breaks this, and you're not going to just give that up to Jim if you think you could take him down that day. So
I think
it'd be great. Yeah.
The Hayden versus Jim is going to be very interesting to watch. Because have they raced head to head? I don't know that that's happened yet. And Hayden has taken down one of Jim's records, so AFK records. So that, and I don't know that many, or if any of Jim's other records have fallen. So it's going to be interesting to see.
And we're also looking at a situation where Hayden has been in that mental space recently of going to the pain cave, and Jim hasn't necessarily been under that pressure. You can argue whether Jim is ever really under that pressure aside from his last Western States adventure. Was he really under pressure in the stage race scenario of Golden Trail Series, like, it is what it is.
Different format for sure.
But it's a different format. And so I think just from a mental edge standpoint, Hayden has sort of had like a rust buster of a mental game, whereas Jim hasn't. And so like I think that's also going to come into play at some point. It's not these sorts of events, and really any ultra, is not just about what your physical capabilities are. It's about how well you can adjust to the mental grind of it. And so, yeah, I think Hayden might have a distinct advantage. And the question is whether that's enough for him to not only accomplish the goal on paper, but then also finish ahead of Jim and Elov and the other competitors there. So, we've seen even Camille. She had a post on Instagram. I'm not sure if it's a post or a story, but she was saying like she's coming in like 80% prepared. And so like she might not be world record ready, but she's ready to throw down an effort. From a competitor, I would like to see more confidence. Like obviously Camille has done a great number of things, and so I'm not going to knock her for that if she knows where she's at. But I want to see somebody who's coming in with that tenacity. And I think because Hayden has had a recent success at JFK, like he's hungry and has that mental tenacity to perform on Saturday, and it's just a matter of his body will follow. Jim, we don't know.
Yeah, we just don't know. And Nancy Hobbs chimes in Argentina, they did go head-to-head on trails at the World Championships in 2019. Hayden and Jim both represented Team USA. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I know you can watch it live, I think, just on Hoka's website. Just tune in there, Arizona time. I think it's 7 a.m. It kicks off, and they're running 100 kilometers around raw. Don't know if I'm supposed to say where they're doing it.
Around a road.
Around a road. They're running online, so you can check it there. Yeah.
Also, in fairness, listen, even if you wanted to illegally spectate, that's probably not a very exciting thing to stand in one specific spot on a looped course and be like, all right, I'll see you again in 26 minutes or whatever it is.
Sure, in a normal year, it'd be awesome. Like we could probably pack it out, but yeah, not this year. And like, we're actually getting, we're getting COVID tests on Thursday, all of our team who's there. And we don't even really have like direct interaction with the athletes. Haley is, I think, representing the official side of things. She has to get 3 tests this week, like 3 days in a row, because she is going to be interacting with the athletes or like in the athlete area. So, and I think they're probably I bet they have to take like multiple as well. So it's a very tightly controlled event. They're extremely limiting the amount of people. I tried to get just a media pass and was denied. The only way I'm going to be able to be there is because I'm legitimately driving a pace vehicle. So yeah, I'm pretty pumped about that.
Yeah, it's going to be solid. And also, thank you, Hoka and organizers, for continuing to stay focused on putting on a safe event, even though it's all your athletes. And some of it is USATF dictated because you're going for a world record, but it's still important for all folks involved to be taking those safety precautions. So, good on you,
Zach Fairchild is thanking us for curating this. He says, "Do you think Jared Hayson is under the radar for this event?"
Yeah, Jared Hayson is under the radar, period. Like for whatever reason, he always ends up being this like second fiddle player. Because every race he performs well at, he always still somehow takes second place. And he's like consistent. Not that he's not worthy of winning these events. He just ends up towing the line against some like ridiculous talent who crushes it on the day. Like what he did at Western States was insane. What he did at JFK was also insane. And he just happened to like lose both of those. So I think Jared is always underappreciated. And he's, for as young as he is, he has an extensive background. Like he's been doing this for a while. This isn't just somebody who's like, oh, this is my second 100K and I happen to come from a road background and I'm fast. Like he's been grinding in his aerobic machine for like 6, 7, 8 years on the ultra scene at this point. So yeah, don't sleep on him. He's there. He's going to be in that pack. And then, the same thing I said for Hayden applies for Jared. Like he's recently raced, his mental edge is there. And if anything, he might be more hungry because he never gets the shine. Like he's always the bridesmaid of the scenario. So Yeah, I would say Jared is definitely underappreciated and is one to watch, not just for this event, but for just what he's going to do in 2021, because the man is the man is a monster.
Yeah,
And
I think
it's
sometimes he
exciting.
gets overshadowed because he hasn't, I don't know, hasn't had like a winning Western States yet. But I mean, went under what course record right behind Jim, like, but
Mhm.
kind of right there in the shadow a little bit. So, and he tends to stay a little bit more quiet, I think, out there as well. So, Alan Stark has a follow up craft. So I will clarify. There's a lot of questions about craft. So craft, it's not KR, it's CRAFT. Is it apparel only, or do these guys do shoes separately or contracts? As far as I understand it, I think they are developing shoes or a shoe or something. I don't know how all the contract logistics work. I don't know if they're signing on as apparel and shoe, or once they have a shoe, then they'll bring that on to the scene. So I'm not sure. I'm not involved in craft. So, but that's as far as I understand it. But great questions. Appreciate it. We'll have to stay tuned to them because they are a newer, a newer entrant into the market besides Rivers, of course. So,
Right.
No plans for Miller versus Hawks, like coverage for Walmsley versus Hawks. I think we kind of have to leave it up to Hoka to see what they're going to do with it. They've got their whole bevy of athletes here, and they're going to have to run with it on their marketing department. So,
Yep. Okay. So before we jump off of this leads into an Instagram question I got that I wasn't going to pitch, but since we're here, and we're talking about Zach Miller tangentially, Billy Yang, friend of the pod, friend of us, I suppose,
friend of the show, friend of
the show,
friend of
the community,
friend of yours.
He obviously recently released his film Zach.
Yep.
On Zach Miller. The question came in. I'm not going to answer it because you were involved in both of these films in different ways. Is Zach the greatest film on YouTube covering running behind Miller v. Hawks? That's the way it was phrased on IG. I didn't say that.
Of course, that's behind it. It's all, that's ridiculous. I mean, in terms of the number of years that Billy Yang has been following Zach Miller, like it's been, I think the thought process when it all began was, back when there was like the Nike Trail Dream Team, right? That's kind of when it all kicked off, which was a long time ago now. I mean, I think Billy was like, man, this guy, he's going to become Zach Miller will be the first to win American male, because American women have won UTMB. We got to remember this. It's not the first American, it's American male. He was probably thinking, he's going to do this. I'm going to be there. We're going to get this story. We're going to shoot it out there. It's going to be a big deal. And it's been this saga of years of failure and defeat and almost victory, and like just following the heart of Zach through his journey. And I think that is pretty incredible to follow a story and a person that long. It's like you got to take a step back and realize the magnitude of Billy's project here and following through, and Zach's ups and downs in his career. I think it's the fact that he was up at bar camp for years, caretaking up there, and just to see his work ethic. I think it's such an inspiring story. And yeah, someone literally just said at Highland Running Club, like Gary Robbins at Barkley, and that was Ethan Newberry's film. I mean, that was like two different times going, but this was like even to another level where it's like, what, 5-6 years of following him. And it's like, ... It's the story continues, right? And same with Gary's. I mean, there's more to the tale, and love this kind of stuff. It's great to see it.
Yeah, I mean, it was so refreshing when he finally announced that he was going to release that, and then actually watching it, it was like, there were so many things about Zach's trajectory that I just forgot. Like, that's how long he's been in the game, and just like how consistent he has been, and being like, oh yeah, like he did switch kits. Like, you see the entire progression of this career through the film, and it was incredibly enlightening, but also just like raw, and it evoked feeling in a way that you felt for Zach, but also felt for the community. Like you understood so much of like what we appreciate at a less elite level about the community. And so, shout out to Billy, obviously, for that, and being able to pull that off as a storyteller and just as a project. It was incredible to see him pull that all together. So, you walk out of that being like, what's Zach going to do next? And now with everybody releasing their UTMB schedule and what that's going to look like, you can only hope that he's got some big things ahead as he rebounds from injury and gets the ball rolling again.
Yeah, for sure. Billy is a master at his craft. We're back to craft. Bad jokes tonight.
I worry about you. Okay, yeah. So since I waded into the UTMB bucket, we're going to get to that in a second because we got to talk about your plans.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm signposting. That's where we're going. But before we get to that, do you want to make some bold predictions for Carbon X too?
I was going to just quickly add in, Billy reached out to me for some video clips for Zach, which was pretty fun.
You were in the credits. I saw it.
Okay, sweet. Just making sure. No, it was funny because it's just so funny. I love it though. I love that. And this happens between like me and like Ethan Newberry sometimes, the Ginger Runner. They're just like, we're like kind of in this together. We all have our own things going on, but it's like, hey, do you have the clip of like blah, blah, blah from this year in this thing? He's like, do you have Zach's finish from 2017 UTMB? And I'm like, because he probably remembers seeing me out there and like he couldn't make it to the finish. It's like, you know what? I might have that. And it's like, I'm going to my drive and it was kind of cool, like a little flashback to be like, I got this like archive of footage from like all these amazing years and things that have happened to just pull from. And he wanted the Miller versus Hawks, finishing scene there. So it's cool.
That tracks. Yeah. I saw the finish of that North Face as he crossed the line, and I remember it vividly from that day. So
yeah,
good job.
So wild.
Yeah.
Anyways, Carbon X. Oh man, I don't know if I have bold predictions, man.
Or just predict. That don't have to be bold. Just like predictions.
I mean,
what do you expect?
I think if it's like a pouring rain day and the whole thing's saturated, I think it's going to be a tough thing to get the world record. And like you said, yeah, the unknown. Like I don't know these shoes, the traction. We'll see. I'm sure they're probably going to be fine, but you never know. I mean, it'd be great to see a world record. I'll say that much. I just have no idea. You got any bold predictions?
It's tepid. I respect it. I'm going to say that Hayden and Jared will be 1-2. Not necessarily in that order, but I think they will finish 1-2.
You think Jim's a DNF?
I'm not necessarily going to go that far because typically if somebody's a DNF in this scenario, they probably got hurt, and I don't want to wish that upon him. But I think this might be the day of reckoning where the Cowboys sort of saddle up and like there's no longer just a head share. I'm losing this metaphor, but you get what I'm trying to say. And then Hayden, obviously, this is his time to rebound. He's back on Hoka, coming from Ultra. He just came off this JFK. I think this is his time to show the world, to put some respect on his name. So
he's been focused in training all year. It seems like he's been just kind of putting the work in behind the scenes. Yeah, I mean, he had a strong. I mean, if there was like an Ultra Runner of the Year for 2020, it would probably go to Hayden. I think based upon all his course records and wins and every high profile races, he was somehow cobbled together a pretty impressive calendar with like the Squaw Peak 50 and JFK 50 and Black Canyon 100K and all that.
Yeah, like he's primed for this. That the year that he essentially took off and was just like traveling around definitely did wonders for him. And I think that the pandemic did a lot of resetting for a lot of people to just like focus on the basics. And so I think he's ready to throw down in this environment. So I'm gonna trust that he can make that happen. And then on the women's side, I think it's just, Camille's already like lowered expectations. It's a real election move to do. A little
bit.
Yeah.
Under promise, over deliver, maybe. We'll see.
I mean, that'd be great, or like she just screws up the pacing somehow and like accidentally goes out like 5 seconds per, kilometer more faster than she needs to hit the record. and pulls another worlds. So so I don't think we'll see a world record on that side, but I think we'll still see, I'd say like a top like 4 performance all time wise. So yeah, I think it's still incumbent upon her to put together a good performance in the shoes, especially having just moved sponsors. So even her at 80% needs to put up a good effort, and I'm sure that that's psychologically weighing on her. So I think she'll show up and perform.
Sweet. I am going to do I have to do this quick call because my son
Cool.
called me. So I'm going to go on mute, but can you give us an overview of the, what's the Trials of Miles?
Yes.
Give us a quick view. I'll keep one ear in. So sweet.
It's fine. It's good. All right. So for those of you who have not been following this, the Trial of Miles Racing is this account on Instagram, and they've been setting up races, actual races, like in-person events for a while around the country. But in these pandemic times, they have set up essentially 4 geographic brackets, and they had runners all hop in to take down FKTs on different popular spots around their respective cities. So the 4 cities in competition where these brackets were set up were Austin, Texas, New York City, Boston, Massachusetts, and San Francisco. All sorts of different type of runners hopped in, everything from professionals and like road backgrounds to some folks on the ultra side to some hobby joggers who were just like, let me just run fast. And the courses have been kind of crazy. There's been short, like very short things. Like I think the Harvard Square loop was one in Boston. It's literally just a 1200. So it's like, how hard can you hammer 3/4 of a mile? San Francisco had the Chrissy Field loop. So it's like a little over like 1.5 miles, I think. But then they've also all done like bridges. And so New York City, they went over the Williamsburg Bridge is one of theirs. San Francisco, they did an out and back over the Golden Gate Bridge. So you have some longer efforts up to like 6-7 miles. And it looks like these final brackets, we're in the championship week, are pretty insane. So let's just run through these four areas, who's still left, and then talk about some things to watch. And you can follow all of these on Instagram. A lot of these finals are actually going to be live streamed because some of these runners are just going to run at the same time. So it's like a true head-to-head because it's only 2 to 4 of them at a time. So let's start in Austin. So we have on the men's side, Jason Cassidy versus Keegan Hurley versus Mark Pinales. If I remember correctly, Mark has done some ultra stuff before. Mark and Jason are both members of the Raw Running Club down there. Keegan is actually a USA triathlete and like an Olympic hopeful in the grand scheme of things. So it's a very interesting final 3 that they have on the men's side down there. On the women's side, it is Alexandria Cruz, who's a former runner for Texas, versus Molly Van Holten. So Austin's actually been really good about live streaming all of their stuff. So definitely look into that. I should also mention that every one of these geographic regions is sponsored by a local running company, and they're like sponsoring prizes and putting up a lot of stuff. So it's still very community centric, which is always great to see. New York City, we have Anna Johnson versus Aaron, I think Jaskett versus Rolanda Bell versus Leanne Sherrick on the women's side. So a 4-way battle for the crown across the Brooklyn Bridge. New York City's been insane because basically every time a woman has run, it's been an outright FKT on Strava that's been set. So they're going across the Brooklyn Bridge. Some things to look out for. You have Sherrick is the founder, I believe, of Brooklyn Track Club, but you probably know her best if you're watching this from the Runners of New York City podcast. So it just does a bunch of interviews with all types of runners in the New York City area, which has been great. Also, they did that whole like Instagram and Twitter thing for a while. So you can root for her. Personally, I got to show some love for Anna Johnson because she's a nurse. So got to support our first responders in these times like this. She's also a mother. So like, it's not just like young bucks out here crushing the game. Like she's got responsibilities across the board, and she's killing it. So that's definitely happening. On the men's side, we got Gerard Connolly versus Joe Stillen versus Brendan Martin versus Jeremy. I think it's Arthur. And again, you got some pro runners in there. It's going to be insane. Like these dudes are about to just demolish the FKT on the Brooklyn Bridge. So that'll be very interesting to watch. In Boston, Ben Bosworth versus Scott Mindell versus Alex Prudhomme versus Jacob Johns. Nothing really remarkable there. It's if you know the Boston running scene, nothing about this particularly surprises you. And then on the women's side, we've got Riley Kiernan, Amy Tortorello. We got Catherine Meyer, and we've got Tammy Heish. I think it's how you say her last name. So again, just studs who are going to crush it in Boston. But in San Francisco, see, this is why I really want to talk about trial miles, because San Francisco is where we have like true ultra runner love happening. So on the men's side, we got Will Holleran versus Adam Shore versus our boy Paddy O'Leary, who's an ultra runner for the North Face and just a good old Irish lad. And so this also harkens back to a 2018 cross country race where Paddy like came up against the West Valley Track Club because he runs for San Francisco Running Company when it comes to cross country, and like was able to break up this powerful top 5 that always goes to club nationals for cross country. And Paddy came in and just like completely like rattled that and what the Aggies were doing. So we get a little bit of rematch of that, and plus it's the course for San Francisco for the championships is just straight like 1.2 miles up Twin Peaks. So it's road marathon, like Olympic qualifier type dudes versus Paddy, like UTMB ultra runner up a mountain. So it's gonna be just so dope. And on the women's side, we're gonna have a very similar battle because we have Elizabeth Gregory, Lilash Solfin, I think is how you say your last name, versus Io Wang, which we know from her Black Canyon success last year, 2 years ago. It all blends together.
Lake Sonoma and stuff.
Lake Sonoma, yeah, she's always crushing it. And so another ultra runner who's going up against these road studs. And so same thing, we're going to see her battle up Twin Peaks. So if you're not following Trial of Miles, we'll give them a shout out. It's literally Trials of Miles Racing.
I have a question. Yeah, Trials of Miles Racing on Instagram. So say like this San Francisco bracket. So I see, it's kind of like a March Madness bracket. You start with like whatever, a bunch of people. So like everyone in that first bracket, they race head to head on these same types of courses
on the same. So there was one course that everybody had to run that week. So it's not necessarily always at the same time.
Oh, okay.
So, somebody could run. So for the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco.
What was the first one that they did there? Was that the Golden Gate Bridge or something?
Golden Gate Bridge was first for San Francisco.
Across, they give you like a Strava segment that you need to do, essentially?
They basically give you the full instructions. Like this sign or this post is the exact start point. You have to loop around this parking lot going this direction and finish at this exact point. Like they're very prescriptive to the competitors as to what they have to do. So you can't cheat the system. And then, it's all verified on Strava so they can go back and go down to, if they have to, the tenths of a second. And there have definitely been ties that have occurred throughout the course of this 4-week competition. And so and that's why like Boston should have only had, I think 3 women advance, but there was a tie in the semis. So they both advanced to the final. So somebody can do it on a Tuesday. Then the other person comes in on Sunday knowing what they need to hit. Or there's some gamesmanship where they go at the same time. Ben Koss and Paddy were actually head-to-head in last week's bracket, and they've been racing at the same time throughout, even though they weren't facing each other. And it just so happened that they collided in the actual bracket last week. And so we actually got to see them go head-to-head around Lake Merced. So, and I think they're only separated by like 13 seconds over 4 miles.
It was like 17 seconds there. But like the one before, they were only separated by 2 seconds. And the one before that was like 20 seconds. Paddy always was ahead in all of their previous ones. So
I was talking to him about that, and he's like, the longer it goes, the closer it gets, it feels like. And I was like, all right, we'll see what happens. And Paddy, he's done a pretty good job of tracking this on Instagram on his own account. And he was just like, I was just holding on for dear life and watching him come back to me. So I'm excited to see what he can do. And, just chatting with him just about life and, what he's been working on in general. It's good to see him come back into shape. He's been, he had kind of like a weird year and a half there after UTMB, and like he'd gotten injured and whatnot. But like this is it's talking about rust busting. Like this is getting him into some real fast stuff, and then we're going to start seeing what he can do on the ultra scene relatively soon here. Maybe golden ticket. I don't know. I didn't ask him all that, but he's just a good character for ultra running. So hoping he can get some shine. And I'm sure all November Project people everywhere are excited for him. So
no doubt. Yeah, it seems like an awesome series. I'm disappointed I wasn't A, tuned into this earlier, and B, that there wasn't a Phoenix division. But
I mean, you can make one, man.
Really? I mean, it sounds like it's too late for this round, but
well, yeah. I mean, but I'm pretty sure if to make it an official thing with Trials of Miles, I'm probably pretty sure you can just reach out to them.
Yeah, sounds fun. Sounds like a lot. Like it could be a lot of fun.
They're doing some cool stuff. They also have going back sort of like to the run flat track world. They are hosting the Texas qualifier. So typically this time of year, you'd have a bunch of indoor track meets for obvious reasons. Not a lot of those happening in the professional side, but they're going to host an outdoor meet I believe it's in Austin next month. And the whole goal is to get as many people to get either the Olympic trials qualifier or the Olympic standard in this meet. So they got some big names. They got your boy Morgan McDonald. I think he's coming through. You got Drew Hunter from 10 Man Elite. You got, honestly, the list is so long for me to try to remember off the top of my head, but it's going to be an insane track meet in and of itself. So it's cool to see that they're not just doing this virtual stuff, but they're actually bringing something that's going to be beneficial for a lot of pro athletes and beneficial for us to watch as fans. So yeah, Trials of Miles, killing the game. Give them a follow, and then keep tabs on what's happening this weekend, because I think Saturday and Sunday, a lot of these brackets are going to finish up with some live streams. So stay in the loop.
Sweet. Good stuff.
Cool. All right, so we're going to go all the way back around because we touched on the UTMB stuff with Zach and whatnot. And if I recall correctly, somebody on this podcast, not me, is going to be potentially doing some UTMB stuff, sir, as well as some other general, can we just call it fuckery? We're just going to call it fuckery. So, yeah, man, what you got going on this year?
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to keep pursuing the Barkley Marathon's 5-loop dream as long as it takes. I do not want to beat Andrew Thompson's record, which I think is 9 or 10 attempts before he got 5-loop finish. Yeah, I could be down for maybe one more 4-loop horror story insanity, but like let's just get the 5 done, and then like we can move on to like the next 5-loop finish, right? We'll see. We got to get one done first, but yeah, this kind of came about in an interesting way. Hard Rock, as you know, has also been postponed a couple times. 2 years ago was because of avalanche damage on course. This last year was due to COVID. And then those of us that are not people that have never started Hard Rock got thrown back into the lottery. So I know like my buddy James Benet was in the race like I was, and he didn't make it back through the lottery again. I was fortunate that I did. So I got Barkley on the schedule. I got Hard Rock on the schedule. And I was thinking, let's throw another couple epic hundreds in there. Why not? We had kind of a bust of a year in 2020. Let's go big in 2021. And back in 2015, I got into 4 big 100-mile races. So Hurt 100, Barkley, Hard Rock, and UTMB. All of them are lottery-style events. And most of them you have to apply for in like October, November time period. So I just... it's what we all would do. We all kind of throw our names into all these races that we qualified for, that we've been working all year to get into, and even just get to the chance to apply. And it's like, boom, I got into Hard Rock and Hurt and UTMB and got the condolence letter for Barkley. I was like, this is the slam right here. Because those of you that don't know what slams are, like the Grand Slam is 4 of the oldest 100-mile races in the U.S., So I was like, what is this slam called? And Chris McDougall on Twitter, who wrote Born to Run, responded back and said Slam of the Damned. So that was Slam of the Damned 2015. I finished all the races except Barkley that year. I got 4 loops done out there over cutoff and had a pretty miserable experience at both Hard Rock and UTMB. Rolled my ankle terribly 3 weeks before Hard Rock. and Skylar was out there for that experience. That was the one with Killian filming, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
No idea who he was. My bad.
That's great. Hey, he's just a guy. It's fine. So yeah, you were out there running around, getting some footage, and yeah. Then I went to UTMB, ended up like walking the last half of that. So we're giving it another shot. I was able to get an entry into UTMB, and so we got UTMB, we got Barkley, we got Hard Rock, and we're going to cap it all off, which is actually the second race in this series, the Cocodona 250, which is our new race with Aravaipa here in Arizona, 250 miles. That's it. That's the plan. So now it's like, let's hurry up and get into shape.
This is absolutely absurd. Just so we're all clear, I'm going to say what everybody's thinking, which is you don't make sense as a human being. So why? Like, why do this again? Like, why? Like, you didn't need to throw on Cocodona and could have just been like, oh, I accidentally end up in the other three. UTMB, you honestly could have probably dipped out of. But like, what's up?
I've been thinking about Cocodona for a while. I was going to run number one. I mean, there's so much. Like, I was going to do it early this year, in like May of this year. I was going to do the whole thing with a support team. And then the pandemic hit, and we're like, well, we're not going to do anything. Like, we had our race director, Steve, out there. He kind of did it almost self-supported style. And just because of everything going on. And then I was going to do a 140-mile section of it this fall, and that kind of fell apart. So I want to just pave the way for this event. I think, I personally, this is a route that I'm super interested in doing. And the fact that we've got such a great team, I think I can actually do it the first year. We've got such an incredible amount of people involved, and as long as that all looks good, then my plan is to toe that line and to run the race inaugural year. And when I finish, I'm going to park myself at that finish line, and I'm going to just wait for like every other finisher that comes in and just congratulate them. And that's kind of why I wanted to add that one in.
All right. When you say it like that, it sounds less insane. I mean, don't get me wrong. That's still at a minimum, what? Assuming a 5-loop finish at Barkley, and just like saying, we'll say that Barkley's still 100 miles. That's what, 570 miles of racing or something like that? Because UTMB is not 100. Like 100.
It's like 105 or something. So you've got 205, and then you've got
Barkley
is probably
155.
What's that?
Cocodona is 250, 255, 256.
It's wavering right now because we're still dialing in like the exact permit. So we're gonna try and we want to get as close to 250 as we can without losing any of these like essential awesome areas. So right now it's a hovering 255. Try to cut it down a little bit more. So yeah, let's say it's 255. Let's say you got 100 for Hard Rock. So we're talking 355. UTMB 455 plus 5, 460. And then you got Barkley, which is probably 130. So what is that? Almost 600.
Yeah, almost 600.
600 miles of racing. I can't wrap my head around. But yeah, the amount of time. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's like a week's worth of running, probably. Like a week's worth of racing. Like 7 days of racing, because you got 60 hours at Barkley. You've got probably 60 to 70 hours of Cocodona. You've got 24 hours at Hard Rock, and you've got 24 hours of UTMB.
Yeah, because these aren't flat either. Like,
no.
What, the one with the least amount of climbing is Cocodona at,
right?
What, like 24,000 or something weird?
I think it's more than that. I think we don't fully know until someone does it, just based upon the GPS data. But yeah, let's say that's 35, 40, 35 maybe. You got 70, 100, probably 170,000 feet of climb.
All right, so you're going to do more climbing in these 4 races that are split up by like 4 months total
than I did in
than
all
I
of 2020.
then I was going to say that I typically do in a normal year, but yes, that even you did more than you did in 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is going to be solid.
I mean, why do you have to aggregate it all? Why can't we just throw it out there on a
Because
paper?
listen,
Like, this is
at
it.
the end of the year, when Strava tells us our year in review, that's what we care about. We only care about what Strava tells us on December 31st. So I have to aggregate it.
Yeah,
But also, it's cumulative. It's fine.
Noah on here is like UTMB 33K, Barkley 50K. Oh, no. Barkley 70K, 70K plus. Hard Rock 33K, Cocodona 37. Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah, that's absurd. All right, so we're clearly gonna have to delve into this deeper as we like work through the training plan moving forward because they're coming. They're coming up.
Yeah,
Quick.
it's coming quick. I'm running out of time. I'm cramming already. So I've run a few days here. We're not going to get off track anymore. Last week was a very down week for some reasons we talked about for the show. We're back on track. And yeah, I re-upped my subscription to Training Peaks, meaning I'm going to track my fitness levels on there, which I love. I love seeing the graph of my fitness and my fatigue and tracking that. And I've got a long run planned with a friend on this Sunday. So we're going to go knock out like 30 miles at White Tanks, like going up and down a skeet course. He's also training for Cocodona. So I think we're going to end up being training partners. We're signed up for Elephant Mountain 50 mile. So we're going to race our way into shape a little bit and we're going to do some training runs. So we'll give it our best shot.
Cool.
Nancy asks, do you have a coach? No, I don't have a coach. I've used coaches in the past. I like having a coach sometimes, but not right now. It's not going to happen. I don't have enough time to have a coach. I just got to get out the door.
It's okay, Nancy. I harass him enough on text that I'll keep him on the straight and narrow. So we're working on it.
So I think for me, I've had coaches and like I thought maybe that would help me with motivation and accountability. But for me, I just have such a kind of a crazy lifestyle going on that didn't seem to make a difference for me. Even if I had a plan, I would just, if I had too much going on, I would just blow through the plan and wouldn't do it anyways. So I'm not going to recommend my strategy. I'm open to ideas, but we'll see. We'll keep checking in on the show here. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. These essentially replace our vlogs. It's just like, all right, here's what's going on with training. We just like drop it in one. Saves us the like 7 hours of video editing, so it works out.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this Training Peaks situation because I'm a little intrigued by it. Not necessarily Training Peaks specifically, but tracking over time. I know a lot of folks, especially last year without races, they sort of like a lot of folks lost motivation without a specific goal in mind. It was kind of hard for them to keep tabs, to keep accountability. What about that sort of centralized system is helpful to you? Is it specifically being able to see the data straight up? Like, here's my fatigue, here's my mileage. Is it just like you can see sort of longitudinally your advancement? Like, what about that seems to click for you mentally? And sort of what would you say is the corollary for folks who aren't doing a slam to the damned, but are just like trying to get back into racing again after a year of nothingness? Like, how might they be able to carry that over for their own purposes?
Yeah. So I guess my purpose I used Training Peaks. I first used it. I was coached by Jason Koop for a period of time and he had us on Training Peaks and I liked a lot of the features on there. So like in an ideal world, I think, I've got just a lot of behind the scenes stuff going on at my company right now where, I need to settle. Hopefully I'll get into a little bit better of a schedule. But I love that I can plan out my workouts. So I could say I'm going to run 90 minutes this day. Look, I need to get my 90 minutes and this much climbing in, and I can kind of plan out my week. I'm trying to hit some aggregate numbers of mileage and vertical climbed basically from January 1 through Barkley race day. And so I've got my own targets. It's a little bit loosely based upon what John Kelly did in 2017. I've got a little bit of catching up to do to get to where I want to be, but there's still time. Like I still have many weeks ahead, not a ton, but I have enough that if I get serious now, I can still get there. And because I have so much experience, I'm fairly resilient in terms of ramping up my mileage and my climbing. Like we've talked about, I can jump in and kind of get up there pretty quick. And so I haven't been able to fully write out my schedule, but I want to write out, maybe the next couple of weeks in Training Peaks. And then you can see, it can even like notify you, okay, this is your workout today, make sure you get it in. And then it tracks, it syncs with my watch. So I've got my Suunto, it can flow right into Training Peaks. And then it gives you these scores. And I think Strava has tried to copy this feature. I don't know if it's as good. I like the way Training Peaks does it. And it shows you your fitness, gives you like a score for your fitness and how you've been tracking over time. So, it has all my runs over the last 6 months to a year, and I could see like where I had my fitness gaining, but then also you can see your fatigue level like shoot up. Like when I did that 4-week period in October, my fatigue level was like off the charts, and like you kind of got to be careful and watch that. But also my fitness gains were insane. So it's like, and then I was like a huge drop. So it's kind of motivating to see like where you are in relation to different times of the year, and you can really plan out. I mean, there's so many tools in there. You can plan out your phases and all these things. And right now, the races I'm training for, it's a lot about for me personally, like volume, getting volume in. I like to pick it up and run faster sometimes so that I'm getting some speed work in. Sometimes it's just organic. Like even yesterday at the end of my 4-hour run, I was finishing on like a downhill paved road, and it's like I just started clicking along like 5:30 pace because it was fun and it felt good and whatnot. So I don't know. By all means, not a running coach right now, but it's I think I just need to put the work in,
Mm-hmm. Does it have the ability for you to go back and see what you were doing before previous Barkley cycles, or even like Hard Rock 2015, 2017? Like, does it go back that far? Do you have that sort of, I guess the question is, does it have that capability? Like, do you have the data in there? And have you even looked at it?
That's a good question. I have not looked, but that would be really interesting to see. Yeah, like what was my fitness level at different times when I did different races? That would be really interesting to know. Where am I trying to get to a 150 fitness score? Because it takes into account quite a few things, like your total workload. So yeah, I need to look into that for sure. I have looked back at some of what would be really good, and I for sure could do this probably based upon just my Strava data, is, like how much aggregate work did I do in like the 2 or 3 months leading up to Barkley and other years that I've, had a decent performance there. And then I can target that and try and hit some of those numbers.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That would be super interesting to see. Cause I mean, even if you just hit those metrics exactly, going into this cycle, you also have the added years of aerobic development since then that also come into play. So it's like, if you hit those same numbers, you'd probably still be in better shape doing that again than even necessarily having to run more miles, run more vert, things like that. So,
totally.
So it'd be interesting to see that outlay for at least us data nerds. Yeah. So dig into that, no pressure, but
totally
let us know what that looks like.
Yeah. And then, I mean, like it'd be good. I think probably once I'm post Barkley, I'll probably look back and see, I don't even remember, like what kind of shape was I in before the Tahoe 200, the year I did that, and kind of start to line up, okay, this is what I did leading into that. Cause I mean, I didn't have a totally awful performance there. I mean, it was not where I wanted it to be. I mean, I wish I was up there running with Courtney and Kyle, but we did all right. We kept moving. We didn't sleep much. I think the very little sleep was like the best accomplishment of that event. So,
yes, I distinctly remember people encouraging me to make sure you did not fall asleep on the side of the trail. So
yeah, exactly.
we tried. Yeah, that would actually be, I completely forgot about Tahoe 200. So that would be interesting. Also because, there's this notion in cycling stage racing, like the Grand Tours, the Vueltas, the Tour de France, the Giro, that folks come in not at peak fitness for that first week, recognizing they're going to continue to race themselves into shape for week 2 and ultimately week 3. So it'd be interesting to see, because you have the experience of Tahoe 200 behind you, and because Cocodona fits, it's literally the second of the 4. If, as we're looking over time, if Cocodona ends up, at least by the metrics, being a fitness, if it increases your fitness racing over that distance, over that time, or if it ends up being more of a fatigue and drag on your body, it would just, I guess a lot of that also depends on strategy and how you play it, but that might be one of those things that it will in retrospect, will be interesting to look at.
Yeah, and I'll have to see what my true goals are at Cocodona. Is it to enjoy the process and maybe I'm not trying to win the dang thing, but I'm trying to be top whatever, or literally just go out and enjoy it and be part of it. And as a training run, because if I were to say, what are my goals with the Slam of the Dam this year? I would say, it's finish 5 loops at the Barkley. And then it would be, maybe a podium or something at Cocodona. I don't know, but mostly it would be just to finish the race is the number one goal there, and to enjoy the experience and then be able to, be there for all the rest of the people finishing the event. But then if I were to want to race events, I don't know if it's possible. It's probably a bit greedy to think you can race both Hard Rock and UTMB. Hard Rock would be the top of my list for an event that, this is my 5th attempt, and, I know what I'm capable of there, and to really be in peak physical shape for that event. So that might be a more chill Cocodona, where it's I'm building a base with Barkley. I've got all this climbing, and then now I've got all this distance, and I'm not going to have any issues at Hard Rock, trying to stay awake or something, because I'll have done 3 times as long as that out there. And mostly Hard Rock can be a racing experience, Mm-hmm. It's probably going to require, me going up earlier than a few weeks to get fully acclimated, and probably sleeping up high. So, but yeah, that would be my strategy there for sure.
All right. So it sounds like we got a plan of things we got to track. Yes, I will harass you. I'm self-appointing myself as training consultant.
Great.
Yeah. Hey, don't worry. Listen, I'm a coach. I'm an actual coach, so it's fine.
Okay. So you're hiring your services out now. Perfect. We'll get you on the, is there a way to appoint you on my Training Peaks so you can look at the data?
I'm sure I have a Training Peaks account from 2010 that I could probably reactivate.
I'm using some old piece of tech. It's wonderful. Were you on Daily Mile?
No.
Do you even know what that is?
No.
It was, I was friends with one of the guys that was the co-creator of that. And this was, I think, when Strava was pretty new. They were kind of a Strava competitor back in the day. So I think it was probably back in 2010, 2011, 2012. I had all my runs on Daily Mile, and it was a social network. You had friends on there. You could comment on people's stuff. So a ton of my training was on Daily Mile, and then eventually they kind of just lost market traction and had to close up shop, but switched to Strava. So
yeah, no, I had I was gonna say WikiLeaks. That's not correct. It's it was a Wikipedia sort of team page, and so every single person had their own page, and it was literally you could create links or like sub pages. And so it's like, here's all my training from winter 2009. Here's all my training for cross 2008. Like they could be on their own individual pages, but literally it was just like a hand jammed journal of like all the workouts. And this is before I had a GPS watch because I was broke and it was the 2000s. And so I had to go on like Map My Run or MapQuest and like draw all my routes after the fact and be like, oh, like I ran like 10.05 miles or whatever it was. And like had all these routes saved. So yeah, that was my training log from 2006. Yeah, when I entered college. So 2006 through probably like 2012 or 2013. And I might have a Word document with all of those somewhere, which I should track down because I had some pretty sweet workouts that I should pull back out. Shout out to Pete Farwell. And trying to make me fast, man. I'm sorry. I was just forever mediocre in college, but thanks for believing in me. But yeah, there were some gems in there. And just like, because it was only our team that could see it, like there was just some debaucherous stuff that people were talking about in those logs. Because you see everybody else's log and like go in and comment on it and whatnot. So yeah, a lot of good stories. Nice. Just like, yeah, I miss those days. Strava's cool too, but like, you know, I can't go on Strava and be like, yeah, I was like going down the street after work and on my bike with the clip-in pedals, but then like I got my foot stuck and I fell at the stoplight, but the girl in the car saw me and she laughed, so maybe I have a chance. Like those stories just don't translate as well on Strava. So yeah. Life.
Good old days.
The good old days when I was young and dumb, and now I'm just old and dumb. So thrilling. We're probably coming up on time.
We got a couple questions in the chat. We got quite a few people here. If you guys have any questions, we're going to answer them right now, kind of close out the show. So drop those in. I'm going to get to a few, hopefully give you a second to articulate, your best question of the night for either myself or Skizzle Fresh over here. So Me S says, I don't think proof of COVID-19 vaccine will be a requirement in the future, but multiple negative COVID tests will likely be the norm. Because someone else had asked if we think there's going to be vaccine, like show your vaccine card to race. What do you think as a health expert here?
Yeah, so so things might change tomorrow, but as it currently stands, I mean, with all of you've probably seen this on Instagram or Facebook if you know any first responder medical personnel. There's this and this is for America, so if we have international listeners, I apologize, might be different there. But here, there's a CDC provided vaccination card that you get during your first dose. And so I know that most everyone who's going through an approved site is going to get that first dose and second dose written on there. So they will have some sort of card. It's kind of just assumed that most anyone who has the vaccine will continue to do that. I know there are some digital passports that are trying to accomplish the same thing. They're not necessarily CDC approved, and so they're not necessarily linking up with all of the data infrastructure, reminding you to get your second dose, things like that. So all this is to say that some of those might come online from third parties and be a way for you to validate if you want to race, if you want to travel, those sorts of things. But having that paper card, I definitely think will end up being one of those things that's super important. Whether that's true for racing specifically, that's going to be completely dependent on either the regulations of that given state or that specific company and what they want to do. So I can't say one way or another, but I think
requiring that to travel even.
I mean, I think internationally that'll be a thing. The CDC released new guidance last week that you have to have that proof of a negative test to fly back in to the United States from abroad. So, I mean, it's completely it would not surprise me if certain international jurisdictions required proof of vaccination, both doses, if it's going to be the Pfizer Moderna vaccines to travel within their borders. I mean, we've seen it with, Germany being like, hey, you either need the negative test or you need to like be a German citizen. I think there are a couple other EU countries who've done the same thing. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, but I also am not putting on my official hat to say like that's going to be a thing that definitely happens. It's going to be really dependent on how this continues to roll out, not just here in America, but abroad as well.
Great. Plains to trails. Is it possible to run a traverse of the White Tanks? Great question. The White Tank Mountains are on the west side of town. There's the largest regional park that's currently in the Maricopa Park system. There's going to be a new one that's going to be even larger out near Wickenburg. But currently, you can do a big loop, but you can't. I don't know that you can traverse the whole thing. There are some dirt roads up there. I'd have to check on what like jurisdiction some of those are, and they don't exactly tie into the regional park system. So you'd have to probably go through a wash, which, depending if, I don't know if that's like, it might be frowned upon to go cross. Mm-hmm. Usually you don't want to go cross country in the parks unless you have like a hunting permit or something like that. Like maybe you're geocaching, I think, are the two reasons that they would let you do that. But stay on the trails as much as possible, please. But there's also the Buckeye Skyline Regional Park on the southern end of the White Tanks, which has a whole trail system. There's a future plan to tie that in with the regional park. They haven't done it yet. So I think in the future, there will be a complete traverse of White Tanks, but not yet.
I think White Tanks are a slept-on park when it comes to the greater Phoenix area. Like,
it's awesome.
It's awesome and difficult and relatively technical and remote. Yeah. So if you're traveling to the area, I know some folks, I completely spaced on this. Somebody either on Instagram or YouTube was like, what are some trails I should explore in the Phoenix area? So if you find yourself in Phoenix, the White Tanks, if you want to like be socially distanced as hell, probably the White Tanks are the place to go. And you're going to have a lot of fun out there.
All right, we got some great questions rolling in. I'll just say that much. Mitchell McLaughlin, Jam. Oh, actually, I'll get to Noah real quick. How was the Rumble? My buddy ate shit early on and DNF'd him out 80. Rumble went pretty well. Good weather. I was glad to avoid the rains coming this week and weekend. So glad we got through that one. Overall, it went smooth. Mitchell McLaughlin, Jam. I'm in New Mexico now for grad school, and hence within driving distance of Aravaipa races. If you could recommend one Aravaipa race, which would it be? Javelina, Mogollon Monster?
Mitchell. My guy, come on, man. Get hit with the hard questions.
There's so many good ones. I think it depends what you want. I mean, Mogollon Monster is a great race. 100%. There's so many good ones. Whiskey Basin is such a great one. I'm excited about Elephant Mountain 50 Mile coming up in a couple weeks. That is one of my new favorite events. What you got, Skylar?
I'm going to say, so knowing enough about Mitchell specifically, Mogollon has a lot of the same feels as Santa Barbara, where I'm just putting him on blast. Sorry, Mitchell. He went to UCSB. So it has a lot of like the hilly elements that like, I guess the greater population would see from Nine Trails when Hoka does a bunch of stuff down there. Feels a lot like that. So if you want that sort of experience, I would say Mogollon would be your beast. I have a special place for Elephant Mountain, of course. And then the race that's in the White Tanks. Mesquite Canyon. Thank you. Is wild.
Is awesome.
So if you're just looking for like a weekend that's not going to completely wreck you, but you're going to put some work in, that's also a very high quality one as well. And then, if you want just like a scenic summer event, like outside of the academic year, I think Big Pine is worthwhile. Like you're up there at Fort Tuttle, and you're just like kicking around Flagstaff. And so once you're done with the race, you have the entire Flagstaff experience to take in as well. And so
a lot of people like climb Humphreys the day after Big Pine.
Yeah. So it's a good time.
Josh Jackson, Skylar, what is your background in running and what are some of your running accomplishments you're most proud of?
Ooh. Loaded. Background in running. All right. Yeah. So, did the whole high school cross country track thing, ran for Williams College out in Western Massachusetts, go Eafs, cross country guy, third team. That's what's up. That's what I'm here for. Mediocrity at its best. And then on the track, I started in mid distance and then went to the long hurdles and then went to the steeple. So that's where I'm at. Because again, mediocre at everything. So they're like, plug him in where he might be able to get points. And then now, obviously, doing running mostly in the flat variety, shorter ultras, and coach. So coaching cross country and track at my alma mater high school, and USATF certified and Altus certified, and doing all those sorts of things. So sort of consulting and helping people out with their running journeys on the side. Running accomplishments I'm proud of. I guess the beer half marathon is the one where I actually got a record for it. So that's cool. 13 beers, 13.1 miles, killing the game. Because again, I was young and dumb. You're starting to see a theme of this episode. But there was also one time where I raced a 10K at Grand Canyon University, got in a car, drove 3 exits up the 17, and then raced a half marathon. I took second in the 10K and I won the half marathon. So that was a cool day.
Same day.
Like literally, like I finished the 10K and started the half marathon no more than 30 minutes later. I was literally stretching like at red lights in the car. So that was cool. That was just like ridiculous in its own right. You do it for the kids. And yeah, I think Whiskey Basin, that 50 mile was probably my, that and the Crown King. Like 2016 was just like a good year of training. So I had that Crown King, ran like 4:35 or something like that with all of that climbing. Took 5th place, I think, at Whiskey Basin, 4th or 5th. Ran, I don't even know, like 10:16 or whatever it was for the 54 miles. And then ran Skyline 4 months later, right after I moved to the Bay Area, and ran 4:24. So I had like 3 consecutive top 5 finishes in 2016. So I think that's like my crowning year. But I'm trying to break that. Like that, I'm trying to knock all those PRs down in 2021. So I swear that vlog is coming. I just haven't had time to edit it. But if you followed the Run Flat Stay Low vlog last year, you knew that was the plan for 2020 is to take out every PR from the mile on up. That's the plan for 2021, but we got to switch it up a little bit because the race schedule is going to be very different. And so the way I'm going to have to go about that's going to be very different. So that's a teaser for a vlog that will come your way in 3 to 19 days, whenever I get around to it. Yeah, I think that's my journey in a nutshell. So I'm the one who does dumb stuff and is less accomplished. And I just compliment Jamil, or I guess he's on this side. So
wherever I am, who knows?
Wherever he's on the screen. But what you can find is that like button down there somewhere. Like and subscribe. Bam.
Boom.
Content.
Thomas Bowling, are you still considering making Mogollon a point-to-point race this year? Yes, that is the long-term vision for that race. Point-to-point 100-miler across the Mogollon Rim. We're working on the permits. We're trying to see if we can get a break through with a couple of the different ones. The point-to-point will add another forest district, so we're gonna have to now be coordinating 3 ranger districts. So it's kind of getting actually 3 national forests, not just ranger districts, but 3 national forests. So kind of getting them all together. We'll see. I think there's definitely a shot this year at getting that going. I think it would spread the field even more. So that's one perk. Do you know if Zach Bitter is still planning on doing his transcontinental run the end of this year, beginning of 2022? Do you know much about that?
No. But I'm also behind on some podcasts. So
I'm out of the loop on that one, so we'll have to get back to you on that. We'll investigate. Stephen Porter, I forwarded your Hard Rock 2017 race video or race to a friend. She was curious, how many potato burritos did you consume during the event? I don't honestly remember. Any clue? Do you remember?
Hell
Probably
no.
like 4 or 5. I don't know. Whatever. And there's other good food out there too.
There is. Yeah. I will say they for being as remote as some of those aid stations are, they take care of you. So shout out to them.
They've been around a while and they've got some great options. Smash the like button, everyone. Love it. Cool. I think that wraps it up for this week. Thanks everyone for tuning in and listening in and watching. It was a fun one.
It's good. Yeah. Obviously, tell a friend to tell a friend. Hit that subscribe button below so you get updates as this happens every Tuesday night if you want to watch it live. But then we got content coming your way on the channel. Details forthcoming. And then follow us on Instagram. He's at Jamil Curry. I'm at Skylar Hall. It's literally right below you if you're watching this live. So just type that in. And then follow us on Strava. Keep us accountable to make sure that we're staying on our grind. So if you're watching this later or you're just watching it again, drop us a comment below. Let us know if you have any questions you want us to tackle next week, topics you want us to discuss, or drop us a line on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, wherever you find us and Mountain Outpost. And our job is to please. So help us help you. Give the people what they want.
There we go. I think that's it. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week. We'll be talking all about the Carbon X2 event and I guess see if we had any good predictions that came through.
All right, guys.
Catch you guys later.